Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon FireRed. In the last part, we finished off the game, and now it's time for us to start the admittedly small amount of post-game the game has to offer for us. So let's just continue on, and now I actually get to talk about a neat little feature. FireRed actually tells you the more or less last 4 major events you did, including entering or leaving certain places. It's minor, but I like that the game does this because it reminds you what you did last in the case it's been a couple weeks since you last played. I wish more RPGs did this, honestly.
Ah, Kyle, you're back, are you? How much have you filled your Pokédex? May I see it? Let's see. You've caught 43. It looks as if you're putting in an honest effort. When you manage to fill it more, come show me, please.
And here's a caveat I don't like about FireRed's post-game stuff. Compared to even the previous generation, Gen 2, and the admittedly small amount Gen 3 originally had, in order to access the new post-game stuff, we need to complete our Pokédex a certain amount. In particular, we need to have 60 Pokemon in the Pokédex. At this point, I think I only have about 40-something. So what I'm going to do is go through the early routes in the game, catch a few starter Pokemon, or at least starting stage Pokemon, and then evolve them by leveling them up, having them first in the party in that same place I grinded for the Elite Four, those 5 trainers near the spa on one island in the Sevi Islands. In particular, I do get, like, the Pidgey line all evolved, the Rattata line all evolved, and I also caught a Clefairy in Mount Moon and evolved it with a Moonstone into Clefable, which is a normal type in this generation, which means it's weak just to fighting. High HP, but otherwise nothing else to it. So here I am with 69 Pokemon, and here's everything I've caught so far. You can more or less do this with anything along the way. In fact, when it came to a Fearow on the list, I just caught one on one island since I already caught a Spearow for the Farfetch trade back in, like, part 7 or whatever that was. 141 seen, 69 caught. Let's go talk to Professor Oak now so we can actually access the stuff.
Good to see you. How's your Pokédex coming along? Here, let me take a look. The amount of progress you've made in your Pokédex is 141 Pokemon seen and 69 owned. My rating? Oh, this is turning into quite the respectable Pokédex. Ah, now this is excellent. Kyle, I have another important favor to ask you. I need you to listen closely. Recently, there have been sightings of many rare Pokemon species. I'm talking about Pokemon that have never been seen in Kanto. I would love to go see things for myself, but I'm much too old. Since I can't do it, Kyle, I'd like you to go in my place.
Hey, I heard that! Gramps, what's favoring Kyle over me all the time? I went and collected more Pokemon, and faster, too. You should just let me handle everything.
I know. Of course I need your help, too. Now, I need to see both your Pokédexes. And that's done. Now these units can record data on a lot more Pokemon.
So now our Pokédex has been upgraded to the National Dex.
Now Kyle in blue, this time you must really work towards filling your Pokédex. I urge you to make them the best and most complete of all time. Truly, this is a monumentally great undertaking in Pokemon history.
Gramps, calm down. Don't get so excited. I'll get the Pokédex completed, don't you worry about a thing. I think I'll try looking around one island first. Anyways, I'm out of here. With that, now we have access to the latter half of the Pokédex, more or less. Now, anything from Gen 2 onwards can appear in your Pokédex, and even I think some of it can appear in the wild now. You can even see on the right, we've seen 141 in Kanto and 101 National. That means in this game, you can now get your Pokédex number technically up to 386. Sort of. You can't quite trade on original hardware with Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald yet, but in due time, For now, let's go talk to Celio. It's been a bit.
Kyle, how have things been for you? Oh, is that right? You've caught more Pokemon. Do you know what? Maybe I can be useful to you. I'm modifying the network machine right now. I'm changing it so it can handle trades over long distances. When I get finished, you'll be trading for exotic Pokemon from trainers far away. But there is a slight catch. For the link to work, the machine needs a special gemstone. It's supposed to be on one island, but I haven't found one yet. Who knows where it could be?
Well, there was a certain something back in Mount Ember that we didn't get resolved in during the main plot line, so let's go and check that out. Whew, punched through at last. Let's go treasure hunting. Any treasure we find, we haul back to the warehouse, understood?
Oh, and what are the passwords at the Rocket Warehouse, I mean?
What? You forgot the password? There are actually two. The first one's Goldie Need Log. And the second one is...
Hey, the Snoop's been listening in. You've been eavesdropping on us, haven't you?
We have some required fights against Team Rocket. They're more or less the same as they've always been, though. A bit higher level, but why they would have this level of the Pokemon at this point in the game, I don't know, because you need to probably at least be mid, or late 40s to easily beat the Elite, well, not even easily, potentially beat the Elite Four with some amount of issue, I guess.
Why'd you have to win?
Trying to horn in on treasure? Don't bet on it. Like, they don't even evolve their Pokemon, they don't even have any other Pokemon that you haven't seen yet at this point. It's just the usual, which I guess just shows how stubborn Team Rocket is in their team-building ways. I guess I'm reading way too deep into this. If you've gotten this far, you're not going to have any trouble. Develop amnesia conveniently and forget everything you heard. What a setback. We'll have to regroup. You, don't even think about taking a step inside here. If you know what's good for you, you don't even think about this. I'm going to immediately disobey that order because screw authority. With that said, in here we can encounter some new Pokemon for the first time in a while. Because starting from floor 2, especially onwards, we can run into Slugma, our first Johto Pokemon we've seen in this game. Pure Fire type, meaning it is weak to ground, rock, and water. It's got decent special attack, especially for a Stage 1 evolution, but it and its evolution were never too spectacular in terms of Fire-type Pokemon for me. It's also one of those Pokemon people more often associate with Gen 3 than Gen 2. But yeah, moving forward, we're going to be seeing a lot of Johto Pokemon in the post-game. A lot of the wild Pokemon you're going to be able to run into around here are just that. In fact, in the deeper floors of this area, you can outright just run into Slugma's evolution, Magcargo. But I don't do that here, and I forget if there's one a trainer has later on, so I'm going to save talking about it until then in case it happens. Otherwise, I can save it until Heart Gold, Soul Silver. Also, make sure you have strength, because you need it in here. This entire post-game sequence is the major purpose of the Sevi Islands, though, beyond just getting Moltres and that brief little bit with Bill in the middle of the game. Well, towards the end game, rather. Because, why do you think we were only able to access 1 through 3 of the Sevi Islands during main game? And now for something weird. On these plates here, towards the bottom of the Mount Ember, is Braille. I don't know what this says. I want to say this is just the alphabet from what I recall hearing. But they have Braille on a 2D screen, which doesn't make much sense to me. If I recall correctly, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, as well as FireRed Leaf Green came with a little insert talking about Braille. But you know what, I'm actually going to go research this right now. So there's going to be a jump cut right here, and then I'll understand a bit more. Okay, and I'm back. Yeah, this is just outright the alphabet from what I was able to tell. And there was a little leaflet that came explaining the Braille. Essentially, there was this little before you play X game here, by the way, got a Ruby, that is saying the whole point of Pokemon is communication and discovery. And it's just a way to teach kids about Braille, when it was invented, who invented it, so on and so forth. Still a bit weird that they have it on a 2D screen, but there's at least a chart for you to be able to figure out and read it. And this entirely ties into another set of puzzles in Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, as well as a set of Pokemon from that game. More on that when we eventually get to Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. Because that's the Gen 3 I'm going to play, as I mentioned, the last part, just because I really don't want to deal with pre-physical special split anymore. I've enjoyed this LP, but going back that far in mechanics has been rough on my soul. With that Ruby, though, we got the reason we came here to Mount Ember, so let's get on out of here back to Celio.
Oh, that's...
Here you go, buddy. It didn't take too long, hopefully.
Thank you. Kyle, you're simply amazing. May I ask one more giant favor of you?
Sure, why not?
While I was studying gemstones, I discovered something important. There's another gem that forms a pair with this ruby. That other gemstone is supposed to be in the Sevi Islands. Kyle, please, I need you to go find the other gem. Kyle, might I have your fairy pass on the town map?
Sure.
Oh! This is my own fairy pass. It'll let you get to all the Sevi Islands. Kyle, please, I can't do it without your help.
Gee, I wonder what gemstone pairs with a ruby. But with that, we now have access to the latter 4 Sevi Islands, 4 through 7. We're going to be going through them in order because they kind of want you to anyway. 4 Island is without a doubt the smallest though, because it's just a town in one side area. Oh, hi, this isn't one island. Hey, Kyle, what are you doing here in the Sevi Islands? You should quit copying me, you know? Anyway, I already got my Pokemon eggs, so I'm done with this island. I bet you don't even know about Pokemon eggs. You'll never fill your national Pokédex that way. By the way, I saw someone we both know on this island. Why don't you go look around if it makes you curious? Me? I don't have the time to waste. Be smelling ya. Please don't. That is disgusting. And for the Sevi Islands from 4 onwards, we get remixes of Johto music. And it's so good. Johto's soundtrack is incredible, and these remixes are no exception. I believe this is the Azalea Town remix? And if you look on the town map, we now have 2 more pages, one for 4 and 5 Island and the other for 6 and 7. Now, as Blue just mentioned, there is something very special about 4 Island. It is home to the proper Pokemon Daycare in its incarnation from Gen 2 onwards. You can store 2 Pokemon in there, and occasionally when you come back there, a dude outside it will say, "Hey, here's an egg." And if you walk around enough, it'll hatch, and a baby Pokemon will come out either of the species, generally the first stage of it, as well. There's a whole breeding chain about what moves it'll inherit, what nature it might get, so on and so forth, what IVs it can inherit as well. I don't care. Competitive breeding and battling, as I mentioned before, is not exactly my forte, but it's there, and there's now a way to do it in the original Kanto Gen 1 region stuff. Again, though, there's not much reason to do it. I mean, technically speaking, you can, if you're on original hardware, bring any Pokemon from this game all the way up, because you can use Pal Park in Gen 4 to bring anything from Gen 3 up into that. There was a service to bring, I think it was like a mid-DS trading thing that allowed you to bring from Gen 4 to 5, from 6 to 7. I think it was Pokemon Bank for 6 to 7, but I think Pokemon Home might be able to do that now as well, so on and so forth. Any Pokemon you catch now can technically go forward. It's only Gen 1 and 2 stuff you can't bring forward anymore, because I think they changed some stat value stuff between Gen 2 and 3, and that just made transferring Pokemon completely impossible. But as you talk to people around town, you might realize this is also Lorelei's hometown from the Elite Four, which, you know, that's cool. Nice little detail. Also, you may notice I had Golduck surf me there, not Chris. There's a reason for that, and it has to do with this next little area we're entering. Also, I do want to run around, because in the water here, we can encounter some more new Pokemon. I just want to show one off in particular, because I think it's so pointlessly adorable. This is Wooper. Water ground type, a very interesting subtyping that makes it only 4 times weak to grass. It's got a high HP stat, but that's about it. It's just absurdly adorable. Its evolution is one of my favorite Pokemon, though, just because I love how derpy it is. I forget if we see that later on, but it will eventually see it in one of these LPs again, regardless. Otherwise, here on 4 Island, by surfing, you can encounter Woopers, Merrills, Psyducks, and Slowpokes, depending on your version. I think Wooper's FireRed exclusive, actually, now that I think about it. Fishing, you got the usual Magikarps, Poliwag, so on and so forth. Nothing new there, honestly. And if you look there now on the top right, you can see the National Dex number is completely separate. With that said, I haven't caught anything new, so I'm still only a 69 caught. And with that, we're about to enter our next dungeon. This is the Icefall Cave. This is a very short place. It's more or less a spin-off of the Ice Path, or whatever it was called, from the northeast of the Johto region. And the reason I taught a Golduck, which was part of the things I evolved for getting to the National Dex stuff, is so not only can I teach it Surf, but teach it something else that we get in here. Pokemon you can encounter here: Seal, Golbat, Dugongs, Psyduck, Slowpokes, Woopers, Merrills. Nothing too new, honestly. In fact, I think there's only one new Pokemon outright, and it's not until we get down here in the inner stuff. Actually, no, there's a couple new Pokemon. You can encounter a lot of different Gen 2 Pokemon in here. Sneasels, Delibirds, a lot of ice types, generally speaking. There's also one Pokemon you can encounter, I think, in the very last area you access. That is the only place you can catch one of those naturally in all of Gen 3, but we do have one new Pokemon here. This is Swinub, Ice Ground type, making it weak to Fighting, Steel, Fire, Water, and Grass. It's nothing special. I don't think it has any big standout stats. And I don't think its evolution had any major standout stats either. I don't think it got good until it got its third evolution, or second evolution in Gen 4 when it knew Ancient Power. Because Mamoswine, if I recall correctly, is one hell of a physical attacker with some decent HP. And here's our final reward, HM07 Waterfall. This allows you to climb waterfalls when you see them in the field. There are not many of those in the series. I can only think of maybe 3 or 4. It is the most situational HM, and since I don't want Chris to have 2 HMs on their moveset, I'm using the surf and the waterfall on the Golduck I trained up while doing my grinding for stuff. So with that, we can now hit up this waterfall in the Icefall Cave and go a little bit deeper. Also, that waterfall looks really bad. The choppiness on the sides is really, really noticeable. Eh, what are you gonna do with limited tile sets like this? And this allows us to reach the back cave. Oh, hey, Lorelei. Keep your filthy hands off the Pokemon in the cave. Do as I say, or you'll have me to answer to.
Ah, shut it, lady, and leave us be. Don't let your glasses get all steamed up.
Kyle? What are you doing here? No, we can catch up later. Right now, I need your help. Help me kick these poachers out before they do anything else. They've been catching Pokemon here and then selling them off. Are you ready? You take that one, please. Okay, then. What? Who says we can't do what we want with the Pokemon we catch? Okay, we got another Team Rocket fight, but this is technically a boss fight, so it's not being sped up. Also, does that mean I technically bought my Magikarp off a poacher? Yeah, actually, now I think about that could potentially tie into the Like a Rage stuff in Johto. I wonder if that's intentional nowadays. Either way, this cave we're in right now is very interesting in that if you dive into the water, well, not dive, that's a different move from Gen 3. If you surf in the water around here, you can run into Tentacruels, or the only wild Laprases in all of Gen 3. So if you want to catch another Lapras and train it up, and from different levels than the one we caught, or we got in Silph Co rather, not a bad option. It's absurdly rare. I think it's about as rare as a Clefairy in Mount Moon, roughly 1%. But it's there if you want it, and even though I didn't use it this LP, Lapras is a really good water ice type in terms of like the move coverage stuff. I just prefer Vaporeon. We didn't plan on this. So despicably weak. You, tell me, where have you taken the captured Pokemon? I'm smashing your ring once and for all.
No way, I'm not telling you that.
If you won't confess, we'll deep freeze you. My Lapras is furious for what you've done to its friends. Go, Lapras, Ice Beam!
Wow, okay, I'll talk. The Pokemon are in the Rocket Warehouse on 5 Island. There, I said it. We'll be going now. But I doubt you'll ever make it into the Rocket Warehouse.
Kyle, thank you, but this is awful. I was born and raised here on these islands. I had no idea that these horrible criminals were loose here. Yeah, we should probably take care of that and head to 5 Island next, huh? And with that, now she's actually just back in her house. I don't think she actually does anything else beyond this. It's just a nice little detail. There's something weighing heavily on my mind. If anything were to happen to the island I was born on, I wouldn't know about it if I were in the Pokemon League. I wonder if that would make me irresponsible to my home. Yeah, legitimately good question. I think there's also some other NPCs that hint towards where the Elite Four are doing in their spare time, like at the Ember Spa, I think there's some guy talking about Bruno. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 23, we continue on the post-game by heading on to 5 Island. See you guys then.